Angela Caputo, you are getting up and you're leaving the show already.
No, my phone gave me a notification that you were recording me, so I had to agree.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Angela Caputo, thank you so much for being on the Fact Up podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
There's a lot going on. We'll delve into some serious questions. I wanted to kind of start off on a super positive note. We met 2019 at your restaurant during a conference. Actually, it was at the conference, and then it was at your restaurant where I met your parents.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they tried to get us to marry one another. I remember.
That's right. That's right. It was over the French toast, if I remember correctly.
Oh God, Europeans, Jim, I swear, are all the same.
Right. Normally, we would we'd be keeping this interview super light and talking about kitchen nightmares and
Yes.
Everything like that. But the times we're living in dictate otherwise. So my first question, though, on a positive note, owner of the Breakfast Pig, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. For those who don't know, what is the Breakfast Pig all about?
So the Breakfast Pig, clearly, we're about breakfast, we're about brunch, but we're way further than just being like a restaurant concept. We're really about community support and involvement. I've been really fortunate to have been so well received in the community, and even further now, through Northern Ontario and hopefully maybe through a bit of all of Ontario. So for me, I'm fortunate to be able to use this as a bit of a soapbox for to talk about farm to table foods, supporting farmers, and supporting your fellow community members. So that's kind of what the Breakfast Pig is all about.
The story of the Breakfast Pig, how it came to be, can be found online. It's an awesome story. I encourage everybody who's watching this to go and Google Breakfast Pig Sault Ste. Marie. It's a pretty cool story. But over the past few years, a lot of young blood in Sault Ste. Marie has kind of, I wouldn't say reinvented the food scene, but kind of maybe re-energized it. Is that a fair enough word?
Yeah.
Talk about the rejuvenation of the food scene and your role in it, and just kind of generally about the young blood that has kind of put a push into the local food scene there.
I think Sault Ste. Marie always had a good food scene, but it was a very Italian food scene. It was the old school Nona kind of deal, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We still love that. We love the pizzas. We love the pastas. But I think in the last 5 years, we've really seen a jump in restaurants opening up here that are people's dream. And people are reaching for, I want to have a breakfast restaurant. Guess what? That's what I'm doing. I'm going to have a burger place. I'm doing it. So I think people are feeling less inept to conform to the norm here now, and we're more following the world trends and following our own dreams, which is really cool. It was a huge risk though, coming into it 5 years ago, but now I think we've just really become known for our small local shops and those people that are contributing to that food scene.
And then here comes a global pandemic affecting the entire.
It was here everything's going really well. I'll be honest with everyone who's listening. I had big financial goals. Not financial. It's not about the money, but milestone goals for the business financially to be hitting new heights. And January was our best January. February was our best February. And then we're halfway through March, and March is just blazing, and boom, down seriously 90%.
And that's what I was going to ask you. How has it affected you kind of personally, and then how has it affected you on a professional level?
I think on a personal level, the biggest thing that is killing me, my nephew was recently in Florida. So they were there, they got home just over 2 weeks ago. So they were gone for 2 weeks and in self-isolation for 2 weeks. But now that this has really taken such a huge turn, because I am working in the public and still seeing people, I have volunteered to just step aside and not see him because I would rather not get him sick. So I'm not seeing my parents. My dad's in his 60s. You know, I think we're just trying to be as careful as we can. So on a personal level, I'm missing my friends and my family totally. And I'm not even like a hugger or a toucher, or, you know, I'm not one of the very touchy-feely people, but I think I could use a hug right now.
Right.
You know?
I think a lot of people can. And
Yeah,
as human beings, it's in our nature to be social. It's in our nature to be around people.
Yeah. So I think that one positive thing that I'm really hoping comes from this, because this can't just be all dark. I refuse to believe that this is all happening just for no reason. I do hope that people start to value human connection a bit more. And I think we're going to come out on the other side of it with people maybe stepping away from their phones. You know, we're at this point where I would see 6 people eating brunch here and 6 heads down and like texting. And I hope that that's maybe going to be put on hold for a bit, or like put on the back burner, and people are going to start to want that face-to-face communication again. And I think they're going to value our businesses, mine, yours, you know, all these kinds of things. I think they're seeing that, like, me as an entrepreneur, I have been so quick on my feet to adapt and develop a whole new business, basically, in order to deal with this curbside takeout thing and the delivery thing and whatever. And I think people really appreciate that we're trying to provide them not just with food, but with normalcy, which is what we're trying to do more than anything else. So professionally, can I swear or no?
Of course you can.
It's a clusterfuck, honestly.
Sure.
It is just like an absolute shit show, because so my business personally, we really gear up June, July, August, September. We're big on tourists. Kids are out of school, blah, blah, blah. Our business, like, probably goes up about 50% in the summer, and we're busy throughout the whole year. So just imagine that. So normally right now I would be recruiting staff, training them, getting them ready for this like massive rush that's going to happen, all this kind of stuff. And now I can't, because I can't train them because we're not putting orders out like we normally would. I don't have the money to be putting extra people on my payroll. So professionally, it's killer. And I think on a further note, this is the first time you'll probably ever hear me say that I think the government's been doing a great job with taking care of people. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy with how they're doing it. But in an industry like this, it's very hard to get people to stay at work when the government's offering $2,000 a month to go home.
Right.
Which I understand and I respect, and that's okay. But, you know, to keep the doors open, it can't just be me. We've had to make some adjustments and fine tune some things. But we're here and we're making it work. And I think, I really think people appreciate it. So,
well, that leads to my next question. How have you coped and how have you adapted?
So, coping wise, I drink a lot now. Like more than before.
And it's not just coffee, right?
Thank God the government legalized marijuana. Just kidding. I don't even smoke. I'm totally kidding.
Right.
I wish I did now, though. I go home and I'm like, God, I wish I could just like unwind and smoke a joint, but I can't. I'll just pass right out. Anyway, that's besides the point.
Sure.
I am coping. Sometimes in the beginning it was with tears. It was like sleepless nights. It was me worrying about my employees, how I was going to keep them going when the business had taken such a downturn. I am very much of the train of thought that like, I can't be the only successful one and have everyone under me dying. I just don't think it's fair. I was worried about employees' mental states, because I find like, if you don't take care of these people through things like this, how do you expect them to come back and be well? I need them to be well when they come back, right? So I was really worried about that. So there was a lot of stress, and the daily government like announcements. Trudeau goes out and he says something new every day, and then everyone looks to me. All my employees are like, well, what did that mean? And I'm like,
right.
Holy cow, guys, like the legislation isn't even out yet or whatever. So that part of it is really, really stressful. But you have to deal. I first started dealing with it by like overcooking and just feeding everyone, and like the pots of soup started flying, chilies were, going, and things were, cookies were being baked and all this stuff, because that was my small way to remain in a bit of control and to help people. Another thing that I've been doing to try and like cope and do my part, we just provided 500 meals to one of our food banks to restock the food bank. It was a paid job, so, we're really grateful for that, but we're so happy to be doing things like that. We're donating food to our hospice to keep them going, because unfortunately their chef can't be there 24/7. And in a hospice situation, you don't want people getting sick and the hospice having to shut down. So we're sending them food. I'm starting a program on Monday to try and feed like children in a low income housing setting. So it's tough, because I was like staying awake at night trying to think about like these kids that some of them only ever got to eat because they were going to the breakfast program at their school. And now school is closed. And so where does little Bobby get his meal of the day? So not to make it dark. It's not dark, but like I think for me, coming together with other organizations and doing whatever I can really helps me sleep at night. And like really, I don't know. You gotta mind your community in through things like this, I think.
And would you say that generally speaking, Sault Ste. Marie, that the community of restaurateurs and just general kind of small businesses come together in that similar kind of way as well?
I cannot tell you how nice people have been in that respect. Like, I think that I've been talking to other restaurant friends about this program that I want to start with, giving the kids lunches and that kind of thing. And all of my restaurant friends are like, what can we do? Can we, pick a day? I'll come and help you pack bags. People are, volunteering produce and things like, what do you need? What do you need? Which is great. We had our dairy supplier is Lock City Dairy out of Sault Ste. Marie. Travis, the owner, loaded up one of his drove one of his transports all the way to Toronto, picked up, I want to say it was like 16 tons of food. It was something crazy. It was all these skids that were going to be thrown away. And he picked it up and drove right back, and so that all that food could be donated. So I think the sense of community is like amazing. We had a lady just day one of all of this, I was kind of posting like my heartfelt things, how I felt about my employees and that kind of stuff. And this woman just sent me a message and was like, check your email. And she donated $100. And she said, just find somebody in the community that needs help and make them some food. And so we've been getting tons of those types of donations. So it's just been really nice. Yeah.
Well, great minds, Angela, because it's like you're one step ahead of me. And these are the types of interviews I love doing, because it's like it's already kind of such a segue. Because as a small business owner myself, sure, but I'm also a citizen. And so for the people watching out there who are maybe kind of down on their luck, or they want to help but they don't know how, they have some spare time on their hands, what can the average citizen do to give back today, right now?
I mean, I think the easy answer to that right now is to play your part and do it responsibly. Distance yourself. It is hard to be away from family unless you've all been in your isolation. Don't go visit, that kind of thing. But you can also reach out to your local restaurants, and we will all provide like a meal for the hospital. We've had so many meals sent to the hospital. People will be like, here's $100, send something nice to the hospital. We did a meal for our fire station. We did a meal for our police station. all of this was courtesy of like just generous customers who are saying like, I have enough for myself, but I would like to make sure someone else is taken care of. So you can do things like that. But if you're in Sault Ste. Marie and you're feeling that way, you can contact me because I'll always have something for you to do, some way that you can help out.
Right.
So, you know, contact your food banks, see what people need. It's just, I think kindness goes along. Check on your next door neighbor. When you see that old guy that like normally walks every day, if you don't see him for a day, like maybe just go knock on his door and give him his 6 feet of distance, but just make sure people are okay.
Right. Check up on people.
Smile at people. Holy cow.
Right. There's I went for a walk yesterday and I happened to pass by a couple and I just waved. It was like 6 or 7 feet, maybe even more. I was like, hi. The gentleman was all like, hey man, how's it going? The lady was just trying to edge away from the sidewalk. And it's like, you know, I get it. And it's all to his or to her own. It's all good. But I was at a fair distance and I didn't even breathe on him. It's like,
and this is the issue. This is the issue. It's like, just be kind to one another. Like you can still be kind from 6 feet away. When the cases are coming out, I don't know how you guys are in Toronto, but some people here are wanting more information on like who has it, and like they're kind of like shaming these people. Like, don't do that. How do you know how they got it? They could have been doing every precaution under the sun, and like no one wanted this, no one asked for this. So just we're in it together, you know, like just be kind.
It's easier said than done, and those I think, and I'll be just bold, man. If you're an enlightened person, you're going to think that way. But if you're not, and you feel like you're just constantly shaming people, and you feel the need, look at yourself before you start shaming other people, because maybe you're that person who throws away your your rubber gloves when you go grocery shopping in the parking lot, and you're sitting there judging other people. Regardless.
Can we touch on the glove thing for 1 second?
Sure, go ahead.
I can handle the glove thing, okay?
I don't understand.
Here's what I don't get, Jim. People are going in with the gloves. I can appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay? But when you have gloves on, it is not a license to just do whatever you want. You still cannot if you put your gloves in your eyes or in your mouth, you have now just defeated the purpose. Stop touching your face. Just wash your hands and stop touching your face. You don't even need gloves. But like, if that's what makes you comfortable, then cool. But just the gloves are not a free-for-all license to put your finger in your eye.
My thing is, are the people who are throwing out the gloves the same people who are judging companies for over-plasticking their shipments when they come to the home? And then they go on social media and like, look at this amount of plastic for a thumbtack. I don't know.
Yes.
But it's like, what do you do? I don't know who's doing it. But there's just something to be said about if you're preaching that we should all take care of each other, and then you're the one throwing the gloves on the ground. There's a hypocrisy there that I can't stand.
The gloves truly, like, they're not gonna protect you from anything if you're not using them properly, right?
Right.
And like the shortages that we're seeing in medical staff and stuff like that, like, let those people have the gloves. Those people need the gloves.
Well, listen, it's April 2nd. It's 2020. According to Restaurants Canada today, 800,000 food service jobs have been lost so far, 300,000 of which are in Ontario. Some jobs may not come back. It's rumored that 1 in 10 restaurants have already closed permanently. A bunch more. I think the stat was about 18 to 20% say that they may close within a month if this condition and if these conditions kind of continue. You are probably one of dozens of restaurateurs who in the past have told me, you got to be crazy to open a restaurant. You're resilient. Your staff is like family. The restaurants themselves, like, for example, you embedded into the community, the fabric of it. In your opinion, does the restaurant industry and small business, what do you need to rebound from this?
I think we just really need, what I need and what other people need might be different. So I think through this, you need to, if there's a restaurant you really want to support, look at their special needs of like what they're asking for. Like for us, we're asking for you to still order takeout. We're not specifically, I don't want an influx of gift certificates purchasing now because I'd rather people be spending that money later, right? And for me, we're not necessarily super worried about being strapped right now for cash. So I think like that could be something that if someone's asking for that, then go ahead and do it. Maybe there are restaurants that are looking for that. Then go ahead and do that. Support them in the way that they're asking to be supported. But I think coming out of this, you got to show support to those that have supported you. So coming here and eating, asking us to do caterings for you, things like that, that is going to be what's going to get us out of sort of the holes that we're digging. I'm hoping that businesses are being smart and taking advantage of like government money and things that are the life preservers that are being thrown to us. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, I hope people are getting good advice and that they're going to be able to weather the storm properly. But yeah, I just think we need to really celebrate Canada, Ontario, and then your smaller, like your certain cities. Like when this is over, I hope we have a big party for Sault Ste. Marie to show everyone how amazing we've been. And I hope that the travel, when we start traveling again, people start looking to travel Canadian, right? Like if you haven't seen the Rockies, go that way. If you haven't seen the East Coast, I just got home from the East Coast. I went out and did like a little stage with Todd Perrin at Mallard Cottage in Water West. If you haven't been out east, you're missing not only just like the scenery and the beauty, there's a whole other type of person out there. And they're
salt of the earth. Salt of the earth people.
So good.
Amazing
so
people.
Good.
Yeah.
So, I hope that people are saying to themselves now, maybe I'm not going to be doing as much US travel. Maybe I'm not going to be doing, and I'm not saying don't take your big trips. Absolutely. Still go see Bali and see all these things that you want to see and explore the world, but spend your money at home too. Like come and check out Northern Ontario and see what we've got to offer. I think there's going to be a big push for that. I think a lot of people have never been here. And so I'm excited to see what we can do to like bring those people home, because I think the US is going to be in this longer than we are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm hoping that those prices within Canada actually get a little bit more reasonable, where the airline industry, the train industry is like, you know what, man, let's like all summer long, all year long specials, 50% off, 30, whatever. I know they're all going down. I get it. But it's like, if you want to reinforce some energy back into the travel, motivation of travel, and you want to keep it local, you have to offer.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. And I think like our city is working with, we have an organization called Future SSM. And I think they are focusing on bringing people from Southern Ontario that have never seen Northern Ontario, come and see, and putting packages together. And I hope it's a huge success. And I hope Canadians go and see Canada now. I hope that we take this seriously.
Anyway, the government came out with a small business plan, small business kind of game plan, and we've touched on this. In your opinion, is it fair? Is it enough? What's missing?
So I think the part that's missing, and I hadn't even really noticed it until somebody kind of brought it to my attention, is like, if you have, how do you retain a space that you're renting? Because rental, like we don't rent this, so I didn't necessarily see all of that, but some spaces are being completely shut down. And like, if you're in a strip mall, you're in the thousands of dollars a month rent, and no one's helping those people. They're completely shut down, and they don't have any backup on that. So that part's really difficult. But I think from what I read, there's like a federal part to that, and a provincial part, and a municipal part. So the government's just having a hard time like weaving through how to help people. So I think it's going to come down to landlords and stuff. But generally speaking, I think the government's done a really good job of taking care of people. Like, it's the one, I didn't think we would see it happen, but really and truly, $2,000 a month for emergency benefits, it covers most mortgages, and it does cover most car payments, right? So essentially speaking, for like just the population, they're doing a good job. Business wise, I mean, they're offering a lot of loans, and that part is a little bit shady in my opinion. They're offering businesses life preservers, but I think on the other end there's a noose, right? Like you're signing yourself up for a lot of debt. But if that's what you need to do to survive, then I don't know. I think you have to weigh your options. But
yeah, and a lot of restaurateurs have come out with that. We don't need loans, we need grants. There's so much more. There's mortgage, there's rents, there's staff, there's supplies, there's production, there's a bunch. And you're giving us a loan now that we're going to have a hard time paying back because of the lower threshold now of customers who are purchasing our product.
And deferrals to me are just like you're tightening and tightening and tightening, that noose that you've got around people's neck because they can't afford it today. How are they going to afford it in 6 months? Like when business just starts getting going, like you can't drown these businesses with these big, like deferring them for just a few months. And that part of it, the business part of it is kind of shady. But I don't know that they know how to help us any other way. I know personally, like here at the Sioux, our city council has like a reserve, of course, and it's being tabled right now to put forward $500,000 to help the restaurant industry just by itself.
Wow. Yeah.
So like kudos to Matthew Shoemaker and Christian Provenzano. Like I'm into it.
Well, what does the restaurant industry look like going forward? What changes do you see in operation, maybe production, presentation, both as a restaurateur and as a small business owner? Top of your head.
I think for us, I'm really happy with my business, like the business that I had. And I think that this has just given me a real vision of how much I really loved that business. Because I think at some point you can get bogged down with all the work and all that kind of stuff, but missing all of the like putting something on a plate so beautifully and having the server kick the door open with 3 plates in her hand and people hearing that door swing open and every head gets turned to like what's coming out next.
Right.
I miss that.
Right.
I'm looking forward to having it back. To be very frank, I hate putting my food in a takeout container. I feel like a little piece of my soul dies every single time.
Right. Well, your food wasn't meant to be taken out.
No. We're doing it, and I think for the most part we're doing it pretty well. But like, small pieces of me are dying. I think they'll come back, but like.
That said, though, are you seeing more takeout and catering in your business plan going forward as opposed to a dine-in?
No.
Okay.
I hate takeout. I will go on record stating this like probably till the day I die. Just in this business, I hate takeout. I love takeout for pizzas. I love takeout for other things. This business, people love to come here. You can't see much of it now, but this is a really beautiful space. We have really friendly staff. Our plates are pretty. Everything is like set up for you to come here and enjoy. Like, so for us, no, I don't want a takeout business. It has never been in the plan for here. So this has been a full like 180, turning this into a takeout in like a day.
Well, let me turn it around with respect to the diner point of view. So in your opinion, what does the future look like as far as the dining experience is concerned for people coming in to eat at your restaurant? Are we now going to put like plexiglass around every table? Are we?
I won't.
What do you see?
I will gladly shut my doors before I change things in that manner. I think that people need to like really come back and recognize each other as fellow human beings. And yes, we went through a pandemic, but we will be stronger together than we will be apart. The one thing before all this broke out, like so huge, we were noticing people starting to come in and like side-eyeing the table next to them. Like, are you too close? Are you this? Are you whatever? And this is like early March.
Mm-hmm.
And I stated to my staff immediately, like, if this carries on, I'm closing the doors, because if people cannot be nice to one another in this restaurant, I will not like do it. So I think that people are going to come out and they're going to be more thankful for humans. I think in the very short term, people are still going to be freaked out by a cough or a sneeze, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like we just, for me anyway, when I don't do clubs or bars or whatever, my night out is going to a busy restaurant and like seeing like the who's who and doing the waves and like stopping
Mm-hmm.
at the tables and saying hi. And I hope we get back to it. You know, I really do. I hope that everybody can realize that human contact is something that's so valuable. And though we're being slapped in the face to realize it now, maybe we needed that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wish you all the best. I wish you continued success now and in the future. I, for one, and I'm going to speak for the community of Sault Ste. Marie and whoever has been to the Breakfast Pig, nobody wants to see you alter anything other than new recipes that you have concocted and new dishes that you're bringing out from the kitchen door for people to turn their heads and look at.
Thanks.
Breakfast Pig can be found on Facebook, on Instagram. Angela Caputo, she's awesome. If you're ever in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, hook yourself up for some beef fast. Wait in line if you have to. It's worth it. The whole experience is well worth it. And you will not only be satisfied, but you'll also be full, and you will want to come back for sure. Angela, thank you so much for joining me today. And I wish you
for having me.
Thank you. And I wish you health, and I wish you happiness and success today and down the road. Thank you for everything that you do.
Stay safe, Jim, and I still I'm hoping that I can keep true to my promise of doing a travel mammal tour, like one of the food tours this year. So if I can make it to Toronto, if they allow me, I'll be there.
When you do, I'd be grateful to host you.
Okay.
Stay safe in the meantime.
Okay, thanks.
Ciao.
Bye.